it's leaving our transit center. And so I was kind of, if you could just give me a short brief, maybe, our transit center is that hub, right? Where all the buses come to and then they spread out and go their different ways, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, everybody leaves out of the same gate in the morning.
All right. Yeah, that's really cool. So again, in this part here, we just show that there's anybody who can use that lift. And right here, that lift is usable, right, Steve, during the rainiest of times and during the best sunshiny days, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. Sometimes it's more convenient when it isn't raining, but it can be used at any time.
Absolutely. And Steve, I know that you're proud of the work that you do and that your team does and all the drivers do to get out there and just go. But what does it feel like to you to just see, this little clip here, of this bus pulling up? It's picking somebody up from, which actually is kind of a newer stop close to Walmart there and so forth. But you really get a chance to help people get from point A to point B, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, you always, when you see another bus out there, you always think, well, there's part of the family.
Yeah. So one of our bus drivers here, Steve, he's kind of going about his business, right? Getting ready to go. Maybe you can narrate a little bit over the top of this. You don't need to use the driver's name, but tell me what's happening here as we go through it.
Okay, yeah, this is where we start out in the driver's room in the morning. And then we get our paperwork together and we get our route assignment for the day and head out the door to pre-trip the buses. All the buses are pre-tripped in the morning. The oil's checked, all the liquids, the tires are checked, and we make sure that the buses are clean. They have all the postings that they need to have on board, and they're all ready to go to take care of the public for the day.
Yeah. Even with all that, sometimes the buses break down, don't they? And we got to get out there and make sure that as little disruption to the routes are done because of that. Is that correct? We do what we can to keep things rolling.
Yeah, that's right. We try to get the bus whenever there's a mechanical issue. We try to get the relief bus out there as quickly as possible and keep the route on schedule as best we can. Sometimes there's a little delay here and there, but it works out pretty good.
So Steve, here's a really interesting thing. We see what is a paratransit. It doesn't look like a big bus at all. It kind of looks like a van. What's going on here? I mean, it has a lift, which is great, but what's the difference here? Why do we have a van and not a bus?
Well, the vans are used mainly from curb to curb service. Okay. And so they're smaller and we don't haul as many people at one time, and they're more maneuverable to get into tight spots and where we need to be to get people to their destination from their location that they're getting on board from.
Excellent. That's really cool. So Steve,
I have a quick question, Jason, before you carry on. I'm just wondering how many of our buses have the lift capabilities?
They should all have a lift capability.
Even if one of them's broken down, all of our buses have that accessibility factor, right? To use a lift, right? Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah. So Steve, this next part here, maybe you can just speak to it here as we close out our video here. I think a little while back, Kathy and I did a show on, that where this is from, about what it's kind of like to have to commute out during these early mornings and sometimes and late nights and so forth, and kind of the dangers of lights, oncoming lights, and how we deal with that. And maybe you can speak a little bit to as part of the process of becoming a bus driver and learning how to drive. The key thing here is learning how to drive safely, right? And that includes knowing how to drive and being a good driver at night. What kind of experiences can you maybe share with us that that will, show the community that, hey, we do a great job of ensuring that we teach our drivers how to drive safe, especially during inclement weather or early morning, late nights.
But you have to be alert to what the weather conditions are, and be careful at night. The visibility drops, of course, and so it helps a lot for people who want to catch the bus to have some kind of a light that they can flash towards the bus when they need to be picked up, and then also.
So Steve, wait, hold on just 1 second there. So you're saying that as the 15 is coming down this road here and somebody is wanting to catch the bus here, they can flag the bus down? And you're saying that using a light makes it a little easier for the bus drivers to see?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And some people try to use the light on their phone, but it's best to get a flashlight or something that's blinking. It's much easier to see than something like a dull light. But it makes a big help because you're trying to watch the road, you're trying to watch for passengers. It's dark, and so light is very useful.
Yeah.
So I just want to go over a point that you just brought up there, Jason. So Steve, I just want to be clear. I don't have to find a bus stop to catch the bus?
No, not in the areas where we're not right in town. Mm-hmm. You pretty much can flag where you want to, but we try to use the designated stops in town, but out on the highway or in between those areas, you can catch the bus with a flag.
All right.
So Steve, if it's unsafe though, kind of describe that as far as flagging the bus down with inside, one stop or the other. If you're flagging the bus down and it's unsafe for the bus to pull off, what's going to happen?
Well, you need to pick a safe place for the bus to get off. If it isn't safe to get off the road, then we really can't stop there.
Okay, so that's what makes it safe. It has to be safe. Yeah. Have enough room for the bus to safely get off the road. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. Wow, Kathy, I'm telling you, I'm learning a lot here talking to Steve, and I work just on the other side of the wall.
Right. He's a busy guy. That's a lot of things to handle all at once.
So the supervisor's world is pretty busy, isn't it, Steve? There's a lot of things.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
So
you're moving from one thing to the other all the time. Yes.
So as a supervisor, and you mentioned that you can work your way up from being a part-time driver to being the supervisor. As a supervisor, do you go the other way sometimes too? Do you ever drive the bus anymore?
Oh, yes. Sometimes there's a need to do that. You don't have enough drivers, or you have people that call out at the last minute. They're sick, can't make their route. So you end up taking that route for them if you can't get somebody else that's available.
That's really cool. And, Steve, you mentioned something about if we're short drivers, and for those that don't know, there is a national shortage of bus drivers, not only for public transportation, but even school districts are having trouble finding drivers. And so I was kind of wondering, Steve, I'm just going to kind of briefly you tell me if this is correct or not, as far as the process of applying and getting a job here at SCTD. First of all, and Kathy, just kick me around too if I'm not doing this right here, but first of all, you have to come apply. You have to get an application, and you have to put that application in, whether or not you have a CDL, which is called a CDL is called a commercial driver's license, right? Am I right with that?
Right.
Okay. So whether or not you have one, though, put an application in to become a driver, because we will train you to drive and train you to get your CDL. Is that correct?
That's correct. And what they kind of require is that you would get your permit set up with the DMV. And then once you get your permit to go ahead and start doing driver's training, then we take you on board here, and we have a good training program, and we work the supervisor that works with that training. His name is Lawrence, and he makes sure and he knows when you're ready to take the test. So there's no problem usually taking the test. His accuracy is right on, and we give you the time that you need to make sure that you are qualified for that.
And once that happens, boy, look, somebody applied, they got the job, and then they went ahead and trained. And for someone who didn't have their commercial driver's license, they went through a course and a class, took the test, and got their CDL. And then now we just have a couple of drivers who are just now going out, and they're being mentored now, right? Where they have
Right.
A seasoned bus driver who's been here for a while will show and drive on route, and have the new person, this newly brought on individual who has just now gotten their CDL, and showing them the ropes. Is that correct?
Right. That's correct.
Nice. That's really exciting to see that SCT TD does do that. I know that's a relatively new way that we do things, but I really like the mentor route, where you have that one individual that you go back and forth to when you're learning how to drive the buses out on route. So I think that is a great way to ensure that you're practically applying all of the things that you've learned while being trained how to get your CDL and all that. So I don't know, Kathy, what do you think?
I think that is a great way to learn things, regardless of what you're learning, which is also what you and I do on a different level.
Sure. Right.
So we can be somebody's mentor as far as you travel training. If somebody wants to ride the bus, but they're not sure what the steps are to do that, to get from where they are to where they want to go. Right. And for myself as well, just learning what's out there and what's available, whether a bus would work, whether, you just need a bike to add to your schedule, or you want to set up a carpool with some workmates, things like that. All of those things are all different levels of mentorship. And that's what you and I and Steve sets up that for the drivers. And, that's really a great way to learn things. And
that's a great point, Kathy. And Steve, as you're out there working and to maybe even, get people to come on board and so forth. I wanted to ask you what route, and we have a lot of routes, and we service, everything. We can get people, right, Kathy, from Portland all the way down to Yachats, through a variety of ways, right? Through our connector service, and then our main bus service, Tillamook and Columbia counties. But Steve, what is your favorite route? We're coming to the end of our show, so let's just have a little fun here. And if you got a route that you like to drive the most, what is it?
Well, I've always enjoyed Route 20 down in the South County. Maybe that's because I live there.
That could be.
In the summertime, there's a lot of people that stay at the RV park from all over the country, and they share with you what the strong points of the area they're from, and then you help them be aware of where they're at and what they can see here. And I've had some really good times with people that were visiting the area. I also like routes that are on the road. I like the Portland run. We go to Portland 3 times a day. I like that. And there's something you like about every route, actually.
That's so cool,
but
Steve.
Every driver has their favorite routes. And what one driver likes, another one doesn't. But everything fits together.
That's good.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you what, Kathy,
like,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like the idea of that the drivers get to be ambassadors for the area and the region. And, whether it's somebody that just newly moved to here and they're using the bus to get back and forth to work, or whether it's visitors, it's a great way to really be that first helping hand that a lot of people encounter when they are in our areas. So I love our bus drivers. They do a fantastic job.
They sure do. And if you can believe it, Kathy, as it almost happens weekly, right? Where we have such a good time, either it's just talking between the two of us, or like today, we have a wonderful guest on who's providing wonderful discussion back and forth. We've come to the end of our time.
I don't know how that happens. Every
just
week
doesn't.
we get to, it's like that half an hour just poof, it disappears.
Yeah.
So-
all the work we do in the preparation down in the 30 minutes goes by like
Is
it's
it-
just 1 minute.
Blink of an eye.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
want
yeah.
to, one thing that I want to make sure to mention before we go that I kind of touched a little bit on, but I want to make sure to mention that, Steve, you're a great supervisor and our bus drivers do a great job. And we kind of talked about ambassadors. I just want to mention that it's the program that Sunset Empire has been doing for a while now, but word is just starting to really get out about it. People are just realizing that we have the Students Ride Fare Free program.
That's right. Yep.
And it's such a great way for the younger generations to get used to riding the bus and knowing what to do and how to do it and grow their freedom and their independence. And so we have programs that go on all over the county in different places, whether it's a library or a parks district, a swimming pool, all of these different things go on and they're not always right next door. And sometimes it would be good if mom or dad or aunt or uncle, grandma, grandpa don't have to drive the youngers to these activities, and the buses are there to provide those rides. And so, Steve, they just need to tell you that they're students, right? To get on the
Right.
bus.
Yes.
Excellent.
I mean, if they have a school ID, they can flash that. And if they don't have a school ID, because sometimes the elementaries don't have those, they can just say, hey, I'm a student and I'm going to the Warrenton Library because there's a reading program or an after school program there.
Yeah.
And that's all they need, right?
Homeschoolers too. They
Mhm.
don't have any ID, but
Yeah, good point.
you can tell by looking at them when they're students.
Yeah. We always err on the side of letting them on the bus. And I think that's a
Right.
great program. And thank you so much, Kathy, very much for bringing that up. I think it's very important that this community knows that we have that program available and we want people to be able to access it. And our younger generation, we want them learning how to ride the bus, right? We want to ensure, like you say, is a great way to go out and build up some, some of that what do you want to call it, that confidence that they can get out and get to where they need to go without having to always be dependent on somebody else. So that's a great program and glad that we have it.
Absolutely. And so with that, on that note, just want to say, everybody have a great weekend. I know the weather report said it was going to be rainy and stormy, but I don't know, sun's out here.
That's good. That's good.
For now.
Steve, thank you so much for coming on board today with us. I will be right around the corner to say hi to you here in just a second. So thank you very much for coming on, and we just thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. It's been a
Yes.
fun show again.
It has. All right, Kathy, we'll talk to you later.